Okay, so we're going to be pulling the school building subcommittee to order. We're going to do roll call. Mark McKinnon, Mark Arceau, Cindy Kirchhoff, Stephen Marone, Daniel Latham, Audrey Colbert, Joe Dincarelli, Chris Duhamel, and Michael Ober are here. Approval of the minutes for 6.
Where's the chairman?
He's on his way. He's stuck in our famous traffic.
Okay.
So approval of meeting minutes for 6/25/25. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So the next item is public comments. Is there anyone in the public who wants to speak? Nope, no one here. And then we are now moving on to approval of invoices. Has everyone had a chance to look at the invoices? So I'm going to list the invoice, the amount, and ask for a motion in a second. First one is from DBVW invoice number 2318-24 for professional services for Duns Corners and Springbrook through June 30th, 2025 in the amount of $33,777. Total bill dated is $1,832,156.10 or 92% of the contract. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any comments?
Ashley, is this the invoice that Justin was referring to yesterday when we met?
No, this is only through the middle of May for us, but it takes care of our consultants through June. And then, yeah, we'll address that at a later date.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Second invoice, PSKP invoice 230601-33, professional services for Springbrook for State Street Elementary School through June 30th, 2025 in the amount of $12,678.47. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any comments, questions? None? All those in favor?
Aye.
Next invoice, ONG Industries, application payment number 10 for State Street Elementary School through June 30th, 2025 in the amount of $1,588,697.98.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Any comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. Next one, Prime Consulting, testing inspection services, Duns Corners School, Springbrook Elementary School through June 30th, 2025, total amount of $36,046. Do I have a motion? So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any comments? Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. Next one is Collier's Project Leaders Commission Services, Duns Corners School, State Springbrook, and State Street through June 30th, 2025 in the total amount of $5,689.27. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I think it's $98.
$698.27, yes. Okay, any comments, questions? No. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? No, none. Next one is, invoice number 22, OPM services through June 30th, 2025, in the total amount of $24,670 for Duns Corners, Springbrook, and State Street. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions, comments? No. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes, and I believe that's the last of the invoices.
Mike, I do have a light entry if that's acceptable. It's
Sure.
For tower
I
construction.
was gonna say towers now.
Yeah, they sent the requisition over this afternoon. I did get it over to Justin, but I don't think he got it to everybody in time.
Okay,
If we can hold it to the next meeting, or if it's acceptable, I can read it off for you.
okay. What does the committee think?
Yeah. Have you reviewed it?
Yes, we have.
And there's
Yes,
enough,
we have.
there was probably enough time to do the review?
Oh,
Okay.
that was probably the biggest thing, was that there was a substantial cut to it, as we went over it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so may I have the amount?
Certainly. It's tower construction, application for payment number 10. This is for Dunn's Corner and Springbrook through June 30th in the amount of $818,207.94.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
any questions? or comments?
Yeah, I thought it was 12, not 10. Did they have a typo on it?
Right, you're right, it was 12.
Right, 12.
Right. Thank you. Rec 12, excuse me.
Okay, so let's remove the motion in the second, Subcommittee.
Yes,
And can you, what's the amount again?
the amounts,
$818,207.94.
And the number is 12.
Number 12.
Number 12, okay.
Payment application number 12.
Okay,
Sorry about that.
okay, motion to approve
So moved.
and second.
Second.
Any comments? Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And that is the last of the invoices, yes?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Thank you.
This is now, we have the owner's project manager architect update.
Absolutely. So we do not have TSP or NCA here with us tonight, but everything's going great on that site, on that project. They're moving forward. They're just about completed with the trusses, and they're moving forward with the roof installation. We agreed to at the last meeting. And at the next meeting, we're gonna be looking at the finish schedule, and we're gonna be talking about their proposal for the modifications to the HVAC system for the attic space. So they didn't have that in time for this meeting, but we will be talking about that at the next meeting. So that's the update on State Street, and Ashley is here to speak to us about Dunn's Corner and Springbrook.
You. All right. So as the beginning, first meeting of the month, I always update the committee on where we are right now. June requisition came in. They were trying to look at 7% for this month. That was their target. They billed slightly short of that. And then after our actual cuts of where they are really at progress, that was about 5%. So they missed this month again by about 2%. So based on if they hit their targets in July and August, our projected completion rate will be 86.8. As we had a meeting yesterday to go over a lot of the schedule, leadership, town leadership and OPM and contractor. And we're absolutely expecting all life safety to be complete. There's no question about that. What is going to be left to complete, we're going to have to kind of report on that in August when we really see what they get done this month. They've only been without the kids for now about 2.5, 3 weeks now. So they're really hitting it hard. We just hope they really ramp it up and show more progress. You know, as I said, I mean, the billing is around 60% right now. So it's a little, you can do the math. We're a little concerned, a little more than a little concerned, but,
Right. And our goal is to control their efforts. You know, if we don't want them doing something that's not going to be beneficial to having the school up and running for the first day.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's a plan B and a plan C. So we
Yeah.
reviewed it with Dr. Grosso and Justin and Mark. So hopefully we've got a little bit of control over that, even if they don't have 95% completion.
as I mentioned, maybe a couple meetings ago, there's a chance maybe a wall's not painted or a floor's not down, but it's still usable for the thing. We'll have fire alarm, we'll have sprinklers, we'll have all the fire doors in, everything is gonna be safe for the kids to occupy. We don't really know where they'll be until we see how they ramp up the rest of those 6 weeks.
Yeah, the other thing is we don't want to make a trade-off for a week that ends up, in 2 years being the bane of everyone's existence.
Correct. But if I want to see them working on the essential spaces, for example, if the project lab isn't done September 2nd, the project lab is not in a primary teaching space, so we can just ask them to delay that work and just, so they can work on it at their hours, that kind of thing. And the construction schedule came in, we got it, I believe Tuesday morning, I think we got it, and I was able to review it. I haven't sent it out yet, but it's gonna be revised because there's still some incorrect logic in there. Every month it's the same logic. But at Dunn's, I don't know if you've been by recently, but the cafeteria finishes are ongoing, the lights are up, the painting of the ceiling is done. Kitchen finishes, since these photos were taken, the kitchen equipment has been delivered. So the kitchen, now we have to worry about final connections and testing. Some of that has to wait for permanent power, which won't be until August, but they're looking at doing some stuff early if they can. Outdoor classroom is been progressed quite a lot, and the exterior pavers, it's the same contractor. So you'll notice at the front, the medallion's now in, it's not stone dust anymore. Upcoming work, we expect to see a major push on the main electric room as they're getting ready to have the last bit of gear in. The emergency generator has been placed since these photos, and they'll be starting that up in a week or so. Classroom reconfiguration, this is the project lab, the behavioral classroom, couple of the social worker, psychologist office. We were in there yesterday, answered a couple questions about soundproofing, things like that. Lobby demolition is still going on, interior painting. Exterior soffit, we should be seeing mock-ups tomorrow on the exterior soffit colors. But hopefully next meeting, we'd actually have an upgraded picture for you on that. And the student bathrooms, they really did a good push on that before school was out, and I saw the tile was already installed. Those are definitely gonna be done in time, which we were concerned about at one point. Operable partition up in the art music area is going right now, and they've just about finished the abatement of the second floor for what we were doing during this phase anyway. Springbrook, same thing, they hit it hard with the demolition. Upper left, it's a little dark, but that's the media center from the entrance looking out towards the new addition. You can see that there's a volume of space above the ceiling that was never realized in the old design. Operable partition has been started. You see that in the upper right, we had to put in some steel in that location. We're gonna be doing footing and steel in there. The walls in the lower right, this two-story addition, the walls are all formed, taped. MEP is ongoing in there, so they're gonna be pretty well set with that. But we wanna, this is another secondary education space. Like if they have to not paint that room, but paint something in a classroom, we'll adjust moving them around. We don't want to direct them to do it, but we want to highly advise they focus on certain spaces. The gym painting should be occurring now, and the flooring will be in a few weeks. And then, they'll be doing framing and MEP systems in the media center. So reason I'm here tonight, besides the update, is change order 13. This is a rare occurrence on this project, but we have a negative change order this month. We're starting to process some credits. We're going to continue processing some credits as we went through the project. There were some savings and I don't want to say shortcuts, but other avenues of getting stuff done that we want to make sure we see those savings before we pay someone 100%. So that we don't overpay and look for a check and all that. We don't want to have to go through that process. So change proposal 57, the septic system had a vent pipe that RIDEM didn't need. We had it in design documents, so we got credit on that. The floor mitigation, that's the MVEC, moisture vapor emission control. We owned it on everywhere we were replacing floors, but the elevated slabs are dry as a bone because they have air above and below. So we were able to realize almost a $17,000 credit there for that. The next two are BDA closets. That's the bi-directional antenna. That's for the emergency services in the building. It needs a 2-hour rated closet. This was always assumed to be part of an allowance. That's why there's 0. The allowance still has about 65,000 left, and we're only waiting on one more invoice. So we're in good shape with that allowance. Roof safety rail. This is something that I will admit slipped by us. When you're on a roof, this is at Dunn's Corner. The equipment there is because of the overhangs of the equipment versus the curb. We have some equipment that's closer than 10 feet to the roof edge. OSHA requires you to have a rail protection there. So we're going to go with a safety rail system. It will not be yellow. It'll be galvanized just like we would have done anyway. But this is a much more cost-effective way to provide the railing on the roof without having a permanent installation, having to deconstruct roof areas in order to tie it in. Change proposal 85 is the HVAC piping lower left. Where they were going to put the operable partition, we had the 3-pipe main system going right through there, so they had to reroute it up and over. That was a small change that they had to take care of. And then 87 is a gate. We talked about it, and it was useful that we had an opening right here in between the two fences, but it turns out the kids use the blacktop for a lot of kickball, and the balls were going into the parent loop. So we want to prevent the kids from running after the balls, so we're going to put a gate in. So that was the cost for that. So the total change order this month is negative 7169.87.
Okay, so we need first of all, my apologies for being late. Underestimated the amount of traffic.
It was bad today.
Back from Hartford, yeah. So you need a formal motion to approve change order number 13.
Yeah.
Would anybody like to make that motion?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any further questions regarding any of these? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Thank you.
We will have change orders processing. We'll have to eventually take the CCD for the lobby bathrooms for the students. We'll have to process that in. Right now it's at about $97,000, but we're still looking at plumbing. That's the only hang up right now. And a few other things, but I think the exposure is not extreme right now. And I think we have some credits coming back to us. The basement fire protection, they were able to reuse some of the piping to avoid a lot of demolition. So we're going to reduce that cost. We also have a change in some site work materials, specifically the handicap warning strips. That was something from last year due to availability. So we're going to process those and get those credits in before we're up to the finished amount. The only other thing I have for you tonight, I've already talked to Deb and Mark McKinnon about this. This is, I'm asking for a CCD. This is something we noticed yesterday when we were on site. There's a lot of bird's nest wires above the existing ceilings. This is the sins of a 30-year area of the building. Technology wiring, it hasn't been hung from steel, electrical wire that's not supported to meet code. There are some areas of Romex that is not allowed. Romex is the residential wire. You can see some of it in the lower right, it's yellow or white, that predecessors have put in. And we'll need to refeed those so that the electrical inspector doesn't hang us up right before we look for occupancy. We talked to Mark today about it. His electrician is not available for this work. So the next best course of action right now is to have A&J do it. And we're thinking in order to not affect base bid scope of work, they're probably going to do this on overtime. So I took, their regular rate of 134, 1.5. So it's $201 an hour, 40 hours is 8,000. I don't think it's gonna, this is on both schools, Springbrook and Dunn's, only in areas where we've opened up the ceiling and it's exposed. This continues everywhere in the school, but we'll chase it forever if we open up the whole school that way. So I'd like, the committee's permission to issue us a CD for that. And we'll track it with time and material, and, we're gonna ask for daily slips so that we can keep track of what they're doing.
Any questions about this? Seems pretty self-explanatory.
Sounds like we have to do it.
Yeah. I've run into this where it's been a hang up at substantial completion. I don't wanna run into that again.
Well, it's probably the best thing you can do for risk mitigation for fire, so.
Okay, so we need
So
a,
moved.
okay,
Second,
all right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No.
That's it for me.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Ask a question? When is the date to finish both schools? Are they,
22nd of August.
August 22nd. So that's right before the teachers show up.
when do teachers show up typically?
We gave them the week before, Labor Day. So the 25th through the 29th. Will be when we gave that availability. The furniture is showing up most part the same week, the 18th through the 22nd. That's the week we're gonna be performing a lot of inspections, punch list, that kind of thing. I mentioned this a couple meetings ago, Springbrook, Media Center, and some of the breakout space furniture is coming on the week of September 8th. But the principal Inc. Was aware of that and said that she could have the first lessons taught in the classrooms rather than in the media center.
And if one school is delayed, they can't go in, right? Is that part of the contract or anything? I mean, yeah.
No, we could open, but we're not gonna have that problem.
So a couple of things have happened in the last, I guess, since we met. The district issued a letter to Tower Construction saying these are the areas that we're concerned about that would affect opening. Also putting any mitigation, I guess, how should I phrase this? Putting the responsibility on the contractor for making sure that the schools are open, even if that means Plan B and C to move heaven and earth to make it happen. That also extends to what I would consider if there are needs for a fire watch or anything to be part of school opening that the contractor is responsible for, mainly because their current schedule has them completing, and everything that we're aware of is entirely within their responsibility to complete. So that formal notification on behalf of the owner went to the contractor, basically saying our expectation is that these projects are complete, and it's the responsibility of the contractor to basically ensure that and be part of any mitigation measures that would not have us have to delay a school opening. So we also had a meeting yesterday with the contractor, the town manager, superintendent, Downs and DBBW, where we are on track for those completion dates. The one thing that is out there, and this is at Springbrook, is the fire pump. There's an issue with the motor that is part of the pump that is apparently hung up in some supply chain issue. It is scheduled to ship on July 25th, which is what all of the August 22nd date, the August 22nd completion date is pulled from in order to allow the the pump installation, the inspection, the startup and everything. There is the way to get around the one specific part of the motor is they're basically going to replace that motor with another motor as part of the fire pump. So we will know more on that ship date about whether or not that's going to happen. The fire marshal, John Mackey, Chief Mackey, is already aware of this issue and has already been in conversations with the contractor to make him aware of the issue. So if the fire pump does not ship on the 25th, or there are complications of that, there are plans B and C in order to make sure that we can open the school. So this is why we always like to finish projects a month or so in advance. I have an elementary school in Madison, Connecticut that got their CO yesterday for opening in the fall. Not every project is as lucky as that. Certainly not all of my projects are as lucky as that. And this is not an uncommon thing to be tracking right up to the end. We would have liked the fire pump to have been here on time. Sometimes there are supply chain issues. The important part, and that's the reason why we've been holding these kind of principals meetings, monthly for the last several months, is to make sure that if there needs to be plan Bs and Cs, that we're talking about them now and the authorities having jurisdiction are aware of. Because nothing can hang up opening a school more than an AHJ not knowing what the issue is and being surprised when we're asking them to inspect. So
I think we have that 1 week cushion that we're not looking to use that. They might still be doing testing at that point and stuff. So we'll maybe get to a point where fire marshal might allow the teachers in and they'll still be doing fire alarm testing and that kind of thing, but it shouldn't affect. We've been very clear to them to be open on time.
We're changing the fire alarm posture of both of these schools by making them fully sprinkler. That affects some of the electronic fire detection that's required by code. So in the end, we're making a safer building, but it's not like we can just say, well, we didn't have sprinklers before, we won't have sprinklers to start this. They're also testing the pressure in the water system within the fire suppression system based on the street pressure. The whole reason why you have a fire pump is to increase the pressure in sprinkler systems so that you can get proper coverage in your heads. So there's the possibility that the pressure that is already latent in the system will allow us to, not necessarily have, the pump is going to be belts and suspenders, but that's a conversation with the fire marshal. I don't want to get too far into the weeds here, but
Turn your sprinkler system off in the yard the week of this testing.
Thank you, Jeff.
any other questions for Ashley?
No, but before we jump off from the schools, Audrey had reached out to me today with a great idea, and we're doing something similar. It's about the cornerstone, the existing cornerstone from the building off of State Street. And over at Rogers High School in Newport, we have taken that cornerstone and we're incorporating it into the landscape design. And I mean, you could do just about anything with it, but I think that's a great idea. And she was wondering if we should talk about it briefly tonight.
Yes, I was doing some research at the library, found a great photo of the 1955 cornerstone being laid. It's westerly granite. And I said, why cart it off in a truck? Is there something that this committee would like to see happen to it? So whether it's part of the new build or it gets donated to Babcock Smith House or the library or something, I didn't know if we wanted to have that discussion at some point.
I think that's great. Yeah, I think I have promised a lot of people golden sledgehammers for when the State Street is demolished, but I think this would be something that would be, you'd want to be first in line.
Oh, come on.
Don't think
Yeah.
Is there any evidence that there was a time capsule all in there? Sometimes they did that.
No, I've read different articles, no evidence anywhere.
You do that now?
Yeah, that's great.
What a coincidence. Newport is also 1955. So they haven't actually done the landscaping yet. That'll be done this summer. So I'll get photos for everyone to see what their idea was. It's gonna be near the entrance.
Great.
And, yeah, everybody just keep your eyes out. You-
Could be cool to use it like as a baseball flagpole or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
They
great
could be
idea.
from property
Yeah.
somewhere.
So great.
That's a great idea. That may be incorporated there. Great, yeah, so definitely will hang on to it.
Okay, sounds good, thanks.
Okay, anything else? You already went over State Street or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Might
Just
still
have
be
one
in
quick
order.
question for schools. Is there any, and I really hope that we are at this point, everyone's happy, opening, ribbon cutting or anything like that that requires prep for the two other schools?
So it would be a good idea. I think we had discussed, letting the dust settle from the start of school
Yeah.
and trying to, align it with maybe one of the open houses or.
Right.
I don't know when those are those scheduled already?
Yeah,
Okay.
October, right?
The other thing is it's always dark at the open house.
The corner will have.
Yeah, because I'll have light now.
Wear your sunglasses.
Hold up, over, I don't know if that's accurate.
Rose might have them, but just, they might not be in the calendar.
Both schools are gonna have a great new space. To, either the media center or the cafeteria.
Yeah.
To,
So maybe we can, I believe we are gonna need to meet in 2 weeks, to move some more money around. So why don't we plan on landing on those dates at our July 23rd meeting?
Springbrook's is Thursday, September 18th. We don't have done yet.
We'll have our media center furniture by then.
You will, it might still smell fresh, but it'll be there.
Well, that's okay. New building smell is okay at ribbon cutting.
But we've shifted open houses before, maybe.
All right, let's land on those at our next meeting. That way we can start planning. Okay. There's nothing else. Thank you, Ashley.
Yeah.
Next item on the agenda is capital projects update.
We have secured grant funding for the culinary kitchen floor replacement, so we are gonna get started on that. That should be done before school opens. Also, the vestibules that were delayed quite a bit as we were trying to work through our egress calculations. We are gonna proceed with the change order and finally finish that project for both here and middle school. And then finally, the split units that we are installing at the middle school and Springbrook. Also, Dunn's was going to get one in their IT closet. However, we double dipped and it's in the scope of work for tower construction. So that one is going to get moved to the behavioral special needs classroom. And check off box there to keep those kids comfortable. Those are the updates I have.
Okay, great. Is that kitchen floor by any chance, in the list of
Stage 2.
stage 2?
So that was a grant that opportunity that came to the district probably around March or April. And it was like a very fast turnaround to submit a project related to STEM and CTE work.
Oh,
Okay, great. Any questions for Mark on these guys? Okay, so the next item is next steps. I think we just talked about scheduling the ribbon cuttings. We can discuss that at our next meeting. Anything else from any members of the building committee want to see for next steps, any action items? I know I had promised at our last meeting that we would potentially not have our second meeting in July. But I guess my question is that an issue, the 23rd of July for anybody here?
I can't be here.
I can't be.
Next week? Yeah. We'll play it by ear.
Here's school committee next week.
Or on the 30th.
Right. All right, I'll send out a feeler, to everyone else. Okay.
Garso and Audrey, do you need anything, any information, any media information for your websites or going back to school? And it's gonna come up on it really quick. I want to start putting something out there, maybe an update on construction or update on the schools, what, how they're gonna look at the beginning of the year.
Not so much, with the exception
Never
of
seen the plans.
Audrey's campus. Are there gonna be any real changes in place, do you think?
No, we're good to go for another year. But something, an article, maybe in the, about the progress of all the schools. Having done my research about the original construction, there were periodic pictures of the buildings
Three public.
getting erected for something mid-August. Schools are on budget, on schedule. Like, here's where we're at. That might be a nice.
Maybe you could tie it into the insert, which is welcome back to school inserts.
Right.
Like,
Okay.
add a construction update.
Yeah, and that's due, I think, to the Sun by August 1st.
Good. We should start thinking about that.
I can send you the name of that person that requested the information for the back to school.
Is it Ryan?
No, it's in the news. I can find it. Send it to you. And Bruce.
That sounded a good idea, Justin.
Sure.
It's better to put the information out there before someone else or speculates.
That makes it up to you.
Yes, it drives by mechanics.
Okay, great. Anything else?
One thing I have been thinking about when I kind of have driven by, especially Dunn's Corners, just driving through is, working at some point, like what's the plan with the town as far as maintaining all the plantings, the gardenings? It's a lot more now, especially at Dunn's Corners, than just the fields to be mowed and then the little school garden. So just to ensure that that is kept up well throughout the years. Because that can be easily, looked out.
So I think, I don't know if that's something that we bring up with Sean, just as part of the, the startup and owner training, that type of stuff, just, okay, these are all the things that are new here, these are the things that need to be updated. I don't know if it's somebody from DPW that is brought into some of those conversations.
Those are great cost savings from Stephen Hartford.
Oh, yeah?
Give all the school maintenance to municipal side.
Yes, okay. Good point. So if we can make sure that as we get, over to, at some point, the district and the town need to take responsibility of the buildings and the ground. Are the grounds being upkept, while the schools are under construction? Not really, yeah. So I guess that's important as our contractors are demobilizing from the sites towards the end of August, that somebody's there. So, Deb, would you be able to reach out to, I guess Sean would be the first person, the town manager would be the first person, and just, would love to interface with whoever's in charge of, maintenance,
Right.
grounds maintenance at DPW. All right, anything else?
Good.
Okay, hearing none, the next item is public comment. We don't have any members of the public, so the next item is adjournment. Would anybody like to make the motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're adjourned.